Men have all his health issues are all directly related to testosterone. When men are in chronic stress, they always have low testosterone. And when women are in chronic stress, they always have low estrogen. It's the mindset, it's the quality of relationship that stimulates the genes in men that will produce testosterone and stimulates the genes in women that will stimulate estrogen.
Guys, help me welcome the one and only John Gray. John, how are you doing, man?
I'm really happy to be with you.
Likewise, look, your work is profound. I think you've single-handedly saved, I don't know how many relationships by better communication, everything from communication to understanding the roles better to great sex to all kinds of stuff. So I'm curious if we could start off with the importance of the duality and the polarity between a male and a female, if that's okay, to get a better understanding as we kind of lay the groundwork.
Well, today I consider myself a marriage activist. It's not getting enough playtime. When the younger generation really don't have role models of very successful relationships because something happened where we lost the polarity between men and women. Since you're asking about polarity, we have a male and a female side. Now, I have all kinds of feminine characteristics. Okay. I'm very nurturing. I'm a great grandfather. I'm very much in touch with my emotions and my feelings, but I'm very much a man. And the way I know that is because biologically, if you have the Y chromosome and you're a man, you're born with a penis. See, it's controversial today to say that. So,
which I never thought that would be, but it is
right.
what it is.
So let's just be clear that if you have the Y chromosome, women don't have the Y chromosome, and that's called the sex differentiating gene. And that gives men 23 genes that women don't have, whereas men have all of the genes that women have. So we all have a female side, but we have this male side. And even though the genes are that way, women do have a male side and a female side. So I look at that in terms of qualities. If you're feeling independent, that's the polarity, versus I'm feeling dependent. Okay, so I depend on food for happiness. I depend on you to get my message out there. Dependence is a part of our lives. For some people today, you can't say the word dependent. Okay, it's like, you're dependent on your partner. You can be on your partner, just not too dependent on your partner. So you have to have a blend of independence and dependence, and that's interdependence. So now, why some people might say, well, why do you say independence is masculine? That's just some colonial idea. No, is that whenever you're independent and you're on your own, a hormone gets produced called testosterone. When you're feeling dependent on someone for something, another hormone primarily gets produced, which is estrogen. Difference between men and women is that for women to have well-being, to feel good, and to be healthy and not sick, their estrogen levels need to be 10 times more than a man's. That's very profound.
Yeah.
In relationship, if I want my wife to be happy with me, I need to communicate in a way that will stimulate estrogen in her, allow her to feel she can depend on me, which means she has to feel I can trust him, I accept him, I appreciate him, I can get something that I need out of him. Okay, this is just biology. Now, for women to have romantic feelings, they need to double their estrogen levels. So twice, already 10 times, now 20 times higher than a man's average estrogen level. Women have to ascend to that.
Oh, wow.
That's what romance is. That's why we have romantic, in the beginning of relationships, at least we have these routines,
Yeah, dating and nice dinners and music and wine and
dancing. All those things are geared around, and you're successful as a man, providing for her to make her feel special. Okay? The more women feel special, the higher their estrogen levels to go. That's why a long time ago, they invented marriage, because marriage says my wife is the most special. If I die, she gets it all. Okay. If I leave, she gets half. Okay. At least if I only have the most special thing about marriage or romance is sex. I only have sex with her. All of these things make her feel special and intimate. And that doubles her estrogen. Doubles her well-being. To anticipate a romantic date will raise a woman's estrogen. Now, what's so important with that is that when women's estrogen levels are too low, a woman will have cortisol. Her body will produce stress hormones.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like give women shots of estrogen to solve this problem. It's a mindset where she feels I don't have to do things alone.
Mm-hmm.
This, in my experience of 45 years of marriage counseling, women, when they're unhappy, they will always say, I have so much to do. I have so much to do. I have no time. I have to do it all. I just feel I all by myself. Rarely do I hear a man say, I have to do it all. Because
Mm-hmm.
for a man, we're wired up differently. Our genes are different. Our brain is different in certain significant ways. So many 20,000 genes are the same, basically.
Yeah.
But significant genes have to do with making babies. They're the sex differentiation genes, and those produce what's called steroid hormones, are the basic hormones that allow men to get erections and women to have orgasms. Okay. So this is
Okay. Yeah.
bottom line reality here. If you can't have those hormones, nature gets rid of you because you can't
Yeah.
make babies. So
Yeah.
anyway, when couples stop having sex, their health usually starts declining as well. Men stop working. This is built into who we are as human beings. Romance then promotes intimate physical intimacy, which we call sex.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for men, we need to make testosterone. When you're feeling independent, whenever you're independent on your own, your testosterone goes higher. So what's the evidence for that? Okay. And what was the evidence for women estrogen going up when they can depend on someone? Well, the simple evidence is that 90% of people who visit therapists are women.
Hmm.
They go to a therapist and they depend on the therapist to listen to them as they talk. And that makes them feel safe to express themselves and to feel the need to feel understood. Men don't have that as much. If men come into my office, I don't just get them to talk the whole time. We strategize. Men want strategies to achieve a goal, to create an outcome. Because whenever you're achieving a goal or creating an outcome, you anticipate success, testosterone goes up. And a man needs at least 10 times more testosterone than a woman. Women have lots of testosterone, by the way. It's just that we men have 10 times more.
Oh, wow.
And to be romantic, it doubles again. And that's the bonding hormone. So if we have testosterone goes way up in our wife's presence, we start to bond with her and we stop thinking about other people. That makes her more special. And when estrogen goes up in our presence, she's very happy and she bonds with us. And that's what the glue of marriage is. It's built into all these ingredients that will keep women's estrogen up, men's testosterone up. But it's not just marriage, particularly for men, they need to have a job that is productive and can provide his survival and his security, depending on a woman. See, if depending on my wife for money, already I'm producing all this estrogen, and that's going to lower his testosterone. It's very challenging for couples who have role reversal, where the man doesn't make money and the woman does. It's not that they can't get over it, but it's a challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
And I explain how to get over that. But your traditional roles where men would provide, so women would depend on men, and depending on men, they would become orgasmic and make babies. Today, 40% of women can't make babies. Okay. This is a dramatic thing because they don't produce estrogen, would be one aspect of it. And being in a relationship where you're depending on your partner for significant things in your life means that we can upgrade this. So the update of all this, not to be so depressing because it doesn't have to be. If a woman doesn't depend on a man, let's just say she depends on herself. Well, usually women who are single are much higher stress. If you look at, actually, the research shows, whether you're single or married, when women are in the workforce earning a paycheck, their stress levels are twice as high as men's. Because see, when I do something I don't even like to do, but for the money, my testosterone will shoot up.
Yeah.
See, when men make a sacrifice for a noble cause to support your wife, boom, testosterone goes much higher. For women making a noble cause to support her husband and children, her testosterone will go up, but her estrogen won't.
Wow.
That's the dynamic here. And so in that situation, practically speaking, which is half the marriages today, how do we create that polarity for the attraction to be there? Polarity, higher estrogen in the woman, higher testosterone in the man. It's real biological. And this is so biological that we actually put there's pheromones. So I was going to answer one little question, which how do we know independence is this masculine quality? Well, it turns out that when they do these massive studies of millions of males, single males have the highest testosterone for their age group. Okay, so let's say I'm 70 years old, and if I was single, on average, I'd have the highest testosterone levels of any 70-year-old. If you're a 35-year-old and you're single, you're going to have the highest testosterone levels for your age category. Now, those are big averages. You have the relationship skills that I teach. Women can learn to communicate with a man, and a man can learn to communicate with a woman that makes his testosterone go up. So mine at 72 years old are 50% higher than my younger man when I was in my 30s.
Wow.
50% higher now. And of course, if I'm thinking about having sex, it will go up way much higher. Okay. The anticipation of sex. As a matter of fact, the anticipation of work for me, because I know with 40, 50 years of practice, I'm going to be successful. That means fearless. When a man has no fear, his testosterone can go up 400 times.
Yeah.
Is it 400? No, four times. Okay. That would be 100% higher, but it's 4 times higher, which is huge. I mean, for me, when I sit down in front of you, my mood completely changes. I know, I got something to say. It's going to help people's lives and give me people in the audience. There's no fear because I know what I'm doing. Anticipating total success. Boom, my testosterone shoots up even higher. So the idea there for men is when you have a goal and you anticipate success, now your testosterone will go higher. If you're a woman and you anticipate connection where you can depend on someone in a relationship, that's the most important thing for estrogen. It can depend on someone. So she could be at work pumping out all this testosterone, no estrogen, because she doesn't really feel that supported. It's all up to her. But if she anticipates I'm coming home to someone who will provide me a special kind of romantic emotional support, that will raise her estrogen. And that's how we're different today than in my parents' generation, which is my mother didn't care about emotional support. Just have a job, Dad. Have a nice neighborhood and give me time to take care of my kids and police them so I can say, hey, if you don't listen to me, to the boy,
I'm going to tell your father.
A policeman and a provider that produce huge amounts of estrogen in women, and relationships were very functional in those days if the man had a job and could make testosterone without depending on the woman for money. Today, we do depend. Over half of men all depend on their wives for their survival, security, the family, so forth. So he's not going to get that extra boost. Even knowing, as a boy growing up, I knew I had to have a job. I had to work hard. I had to make money. I was ever going to get laid. I mean,
that's true.
As a teenager, and we're desperate. I mean, I'll do whatever society says. Okay, if I have to have a job before I'm married, because in my generation, even it was just shifting to the 60s. But before that, when I was early teenage years, I was feeling the pressure to work. Otherwise, I would never get laid. Then 60s came along as I was in my teens now. Free sex. This was like a new world. It was like all the women, we're like men now. We don't have to get married to have sex. We have genitals. We're going to have sex. We enjoy sex. And they do. And so we had and men were like, I don't have to have a job to have sex. I could just go have sex. Free sex. At all. There goes monogamy. And which is so valuable to keep women's estrogen up. Free sex raises their testosterone, so they'll be more horny, but they're not going to be happy, and they can't make it feel like they're having a family. Over 50% of women do not want to have children. 50% of men do not want to make a commitment to have a family. This is tragic, but instincts to have a family emerge when your estrogen levels are very high. And testosterone levels are very high.
So what do you think has changed in our social environment that's caused the vast majority of us to move away from more of the traditional practices that were working consistently for happy, healthy marriages? I mean, one of the things I've seen in the book is obviously people are saying too busy, too tired, get home, I'm burnout, I don't want to, that kind of thing. I also would, and maybe this is an area that I haven't heard you dig into yet, but I know for a man, if he has a bad performance, so to speak, it haunts him. Where the woman, it seems like, will grow increasingly more frustrated, even though she might be nurturing on the front end. I'm curious, like, at what point does the mind play a role, I guess, in kind of how yeah.
Hormones affect mind, but mind affects hormones.
Okay.
Hormones affect mind. So if my hormones are low, biologically, I'm going to produce cortisol. Cortisol inhibits my ability to think rationally. That's what's happening in the world. When everybody's afraid, they can't think rationally. What happens is blood flow stops to the prefrontal cortex, and you go into a non-logical state where you're dependent on authority to tell you what's right. Just blindly believing in authority is a child thing. It's a child part of the brain. It's our basic programming, which is do what mom and dad say, do what the government says, do what the police, just so all you have to do is create fear in somebody and they will become mindlessly obedient. What's happened is when women are doing their jobs that are producing testosterone, if they don't have marriage to support them in producing the estrogen, where they feel I'm taken care of, I don't have to do it all alone, I have a partner in life, I've got backup here, and I have a new kind of emotional support, which we'll talk about, which my father didn't have to do, which is listening to his feelings and women learning how to go deeper into their emotions and share them. Well, we say women are more emotional. They're not really good at sharing emotions. Okay. I'm a therapist. I sit in here, I'm paid lots of money to actually feel what they're feeling. For example, if somebody's angry, they're really afraid. And if somebody's afraid, they're also angry. You got to look at the depth of feeling. So women haven't been trained that way. They don't have to be trained that way to connect with another woman, which is why you'll see so many gay couples today. A woman can just say, I was stuck on the bridge today. And the other woman goes, yeah, I understand how you feel. But if the man's going to understand how it feels, he's not going to understand. I've been stuck on the bridge. I just put on a good song.
I'm not got an audiobook.
So I'm not going to instinctively relate to what a woman emotionally feels when she says, I was stuck on the bridge. But what happens is if women can become emotionally intelligent, which is I was stuck on the bridge. I was so frustrated because I was late and I wanted to get there on time and I felt disappointed. This happens again and again. Ever since we moved here, I can't seem to get places on time. I'm afraid this is going to keep up and I might be judged for being late. I feel really bad or I'm so embarrassed because I was late. You see, that's emotions. That's what I call emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to communicate to a man, and he will penetrate you. He will experience your feeling because we can relate to any emotion. It's just what makes you feel the emotion we may not relate to, and we may not even agree with or validate. If a woman says to her husband, I feel like you don't love me anymore, how's it going to validate that statement? How can I say you're right?
Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah. I've unfortunately been in those circumstances before, and there is no right thing to say. And at least,
yeah.
All right.
He says, I feel like you don't love me. You can't say, you're right, I don't love you. But women are seeking, the word now is affirmation. Before it was validation. I need to affirm that I'm with you here. I can understand where you're coming from. So I can say to her, I understand that must make you sad. See, now I can validate that you feel sad. I can't validate that you feel I don't love you. I can understand you're having a bad day, you feel ignored. But even when you feel ignored, I'm not ignoring you. And I in my world, I'm not ignoring you. I'm working all day to make money to support this family. I can ignore you. See, we'll see it through our eyes, but to actually connect with her so she doesn't feel like she's just being completely ignored, I can validate the emotion, which is, and you were right in saying you don't immediately say something. You say, help me understand that better. Or what happened? What were you expecting? You can ask questions, but at a certain point, they need affirmation. And the affirmation comes, I understand that must make you so sad. I understand that, that must be scary. See, this is validation of emotion. But women are not good at identifying the emotion that goes with the feeling. That's a
Hmm.
confusing statement for most people. I feel you don't love me is not an emotion. I
Yeah.
feel betrayed by your action. I feel you cheated me. Okay, those are just thoughts that you feel.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing to do. Ideally, we're suited to feel emotion, feel emotion. When you feel a thought, you actually give 100% belief into feeling it, as opposed to, well, I think today you don't love me anymore. I think our relationship's going down the tubes. And man will tell me more. Why do you think that? So you can be in a logical conversation, he'll link in there. But if you have a feeling, what women have to learn is when you're going to feel something, if you're feeling a thought and you're not happy, the thought is wrong.
Hmm.
Accept it. When you feel something and it's negative, your thinking is off. So when
Yeah.
you feel, I feel unheard, I feel important, it could be true because it's a positive feeling. I feel
Hmm.
happy. You see, when it's positive, we're aligned with our soul. When it's negative, we're off track in some way. And so when you feel something and it makes you feel bad, you're not connected with true. But what you are have the access to feel, which would be true, is when
Hmm.
I feel bad, I actually feel afraid nobody's going to like me. Whatever it is, bring the
Yeah.
emotion to it. And here's what happens when women learn to do this is they'll suddenly connecting to half the world. See, women feel, men don't understand. So that means you're disconnected from the whole world. You get one man who actually could understand your emotions, and now you're connected to the world. Women will understand you, but can men? Again, it's another dynamic of, am I alone in this world? I'm alone if I'm with I'm safe being alone away from men if I have women, but
Hmm.
double that if you've got men. And when a woman says to me, these women take my classes, I just thank you so much. My husband, we're so happy together, we're so connected because they feel seen, they feel heard, because they've
Yeah.
learned how to communicate in a way. And for us guys, we can learn how to listen in a way that makes it safe for her to eventually get back to her emotions. But
Hmm.
I'll tell you, that's the long route.
Yeah.
Is if sometimes couples will say, we've got young kids, we can't come to your workshops. Who should come, the man or the woman? Always the woman should come.
Hmm.
Women are embedded in, they feel the need for relationship 10 times more than men hormonally.
Hmm.
See, relationship is what stimulates estrogen, you and me. Whereas for men, it's not so much relationship, it's the relationship of me with my work, with my outcome, with what I can do.
Hmm.
This is so as a little tip for the men, don't even think about being in a relationship with a woman until you can be happy achieving your goals. See, if
Hmm.
you don't feel good about achieving your goals, you'll find some woman and you'll become like a child, depending on her to make you happy. Now, I do
Yeah.
depend on my wife to become happier.
Yeah.
You know, intimacy and family life takes me to another level. But I first have a foundation of, if she's in a bad mood and can't give me anything, I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
I'm not depending on her happiness for me to feel happy. Although it's still true, when she's happy, I will take credit for it and feel
Yeah.
good.
Well, it seems to me that in some cases people are searching for their own validation and affirmation in the wrong places. One of the things that I kind of has dawned on me.
A profound thought. Just
Yeah.
look at that. I just want to acknowledge that for men looking for your affirmation through what you've accomplished,
Hmm.
through what you're capable of, what sacrifice you made. I mean, all I have to do is fast for 2 days and I feel a huge surge of testosterone, so I
Yeah.
did that. Many people can do that. I did it with
Yeah.
some, this is the dynamic of an accomplishment or a sacrifice that you
Hmm.
made in order to achieve a noble goal.
Hmm.
It's noble. And that's masculinity. When
Yeah.
women do that, they don't feel better.
Well,
They're
that's
not,
the other thing too, is I've been, and this is, I'm just being vulnerable here. I've had relationships in times past where we have that duality, that polarity that seems like it's all in vibes, almost like you have the soulmate connection and things are firing all cylinders, everything's great. And then obviously you're in the relationship for a period of time, your relationship goes through various stresses that can affect, outside world, heck, going through a business reversal or any number of things. And one of the things that I've seen that's not as attractive to me is when my former female partner would go into a super masculine kind of posture because I'm very comfortable in masculinity. I'm still learning my feminine side to kind of be that empathetic listener and kind of still like and tell me more, how, getting into that questioning scenario. In fact, it was actually that lesson that taught me one of the things that I've shared from stage before is that questions open hearts and statements close them. Because I learned for a long time ago, it was like, I would make comments trying to understand, but I wasn't asking questions. And therefore I never really got any track record. The moment I'll tell you where the idea came from, asking questions. There's a video on YouTube that's called "It's Not About the Nail." Have you ever seen it before?
Yeah, it's so funny. It's based
I
on
love that video.
it's always it's women will regardless of the practical solution, women need to talk about the problem, and they don't want to they don't want solutions. And then that's in Men Are From Mars. And then they took that and made the funniest video in the
I
universe.
love that video.
They didn't tell everybody the name of it, so you can go watch it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I searched, it was called "It's Not About the Nail." So,
And so basically, I don't want to give the punchline. Let everybody go watch
yeah.
it. That's funny. But basically, a woman can be upset about something, and there's a solution, like you can find it in a minute. Logically, there's a solution, which in most situations, men do this. Women will be talking about something and they'll say, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Like that's going to tell her not to be upset. You got to just do this, or who cares about that person anyway? I learned this right away in my marriage because my wife was working her job. I was working my job, and I'm making more money than her. And she was complaining about her job. She's so exhausted. Oh, I did this and I did this. Nobody's supporting me. And honey, just quit that job. I can support you. She goes, John, I don't need you to tell me to quit my job. I know I could quit my job. I love my job, but some days I just need to talk about my job. All you have to do is listen and give me a hug. And I'll give it more phrases for guys to use when you give that hug. When you have all these solutions that you would apply so you wouldn't be upset. She just needs to talk about it out loud. And that will raise her estrogen. That will take away the stress feeling. She can look at the situation very logically at that point. And then what you say to her is, this is a good phrase, men can use again and again and again. It's just like a phrase saying, I love you. It's, honey, you do so much for so many people. Let me give you a hug. You see that? That's just like there's no solution. Just like they're
and the great sex occurs. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the show. Stephen Scoggins here. I've got something that I think is absolutely going to blow your mind. Imagine taking your life and your business to the whole another level. I'm talking about an 8-figure level and beyond. You see, you've been working your butt off to build your business to where it is now. But what if you could work smarter, free up more time, make more money and impact along the way? How much would that be worth to you? You see, I can prove that basic steps, basic mindset shifts, and subtle changes can make the biggest difference. I want to introduce you to the 8-figure mindset makeover. It's absolutely free and it's here for you. It's a powerful summary of my top strategies that help propel me from the streets, if you will, to upwards of 9 figures and quote unquote success, as we like to chase it. This is more than just tips though. It's a complete mindset overhaul with simple hacks that you can apply today to begin working on your unprecedented heights in your own business. I would like the honor to share these types of things with you that turn my dreams into reality so you can experience the same type of joy and freedom that I now get to live out in my own day. In other words, it's time for you to build your own unstoppable enterprise. And if you're really ready to take it to the next level and elevate your life and your business, this is an absolute game changer for you. So if you want to take advantage of this free resource, simply go to the show notes and click the link, or you can go to StephenScoggins.com/8-figure. That's StephenScoggins.com/8-figure. Until then, much love. God bless. Let's get back to the show. Take care. No, it's funny. I was just thinking too, one of the things that I discovered by accident that worked was, as a man, I was not great at listening because I'm used to fixing and solving problems all day long. It's what I do. So I literally got to the place where I would say, yeah, exactly. So I got to the place where I would say, okay, is this one of those times you want me to listen and nurture, like be present with you, or is this one of those times you are open for advice?
That's nice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another phrase we would use is a Mars talk or a Venus talk. A Mars talk, one of my brothers said it was the favorite part of my book because his very emotional. And for them to learn, are we doing a Venus talk? Are we doing a Mars talk? And a Venus talk, I'm just going to listen and validate and seek to understand, not try to solve anything. And then if we want to do a Mars talk, we're going to leave feelings out of it. Okay. You can't talk about feelings that get hurt. Because see, if somebody shares a feeling and then you basically, you don't need to feel that. Boom. That person just felt attacked. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to feel that way, particularly if you're a woman. Now, I have a men's group, and in my men's group, I rarely get upset about anything. But one of the guys was listening too much to the authorities, and I was just upset with him.
Yeah.
and and I was just really annoyed that he would think that, and I got angry at him. And as soon as I got angry, all my group member men, they started laughing, and they said, "Oh, John, I think you're overreacting." I said, "Okay, you're right. I am overreacting." Okay to say to a man, "You're overreacting." 'Cause we know we are logically. Anytime
Yeah.
you're my belief system, anytime you're upset, you're overreacting.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you're right. Yeah, you're right. No worries. Yeah.
We're the samurai
Yeah.
warrior, you know? I mean, this is grounded in masculinity. And, there's all these pansy university professors who say, oh, poor men, they're expected to be so tough and they're expected to have no emotions. That's right, men. You got to suck it up. If you're upset, you need to know what's going on. Your estrogen levels are soaring and your
Mm.
masculinity, your testosterone's
Yeah.
going. See, this is how people don't know this. This is like a revelation
Mhm.
that we want to be masculine, right? We want to be cool, calm, and collected. We want a heart open. We want to be loving guys. So, in order to have your heart be open, your testosterone levels have to be really high, and then your
Mhm.
estrogen goes up. See, feeling is estrogen.
Mhm.
But if your emotion's going up and it's a negative emotion, your testosterone's going down.
Hmm.
It's like I don't shame a man,
Yeah.
being having being in his emotions. But if it's just guys around, with guys who understand this stuff, we make a joke about it. See, guys joke.
Yeah.
I saw the validation of this concept because I'm not an emergency worker, but a fireman is. And I had a fireman in one of my classes, and he says, John, when you talk about men have to make jokes to lighten things up as a part of processing their stress.
Mhm.
Some firemen, that he said, as a fireman, when we're driving away, we make jokes about, that charred body just dissolved right away. They
Mhm.
light it up. Boy, you should. That lady sure would have been better if she done. I don't know
Yeah.
what jokes, they make, but they have to lighten it up, and then they sort of find their equilibrium. And if they need to explore feelings, they can. It's not that men can't explore feelings. There's an old Chinese, which I subscribe to. It's an old Chinese phrase, which is a man, not a child. A boy can cry. A man doesn't cry unless his heart is broken.
Mm.
That basically means when there's a big problem,
Mhm.
then a big loss. Of course, tears are part of the grieving process. But
Mhm.
generally speaking, biologically, now I'm not just going to talk logically, I'm going to talk biologically. If a man's experiencing adrenaline, this is moderate stress. There's two
Mhm.
sources of there's motivation, which is dopamine. And then when there's danger in motivation, like you're driving, if you speed limit 60, you're now going 80. So you need
Mhm.
to look in your rearview mirror, make sure there's no police. You need to
Yeah.
be, deer. Okay. So there's moderate danger, but you feel confident that everything's going to be fine. So notice what happens in your body when you go from 60 to 80. That's called adrenaline.
Mhm.
Okay? Adrenaline pumping. And then when you go from 80 to, well, for fun, let's just say 110. And
Yeah.
then 110. You're, like that. Okay.
I like
So,
my sports cars. It's good.
well, I have one. For me, it was 150, but I
Yeah.
couldn't do corners on 150. But just to do that was, oh,
Yeah.
that's producing cortisol.
Mm.
Okay. So there's different wiring in our body. When a man experiences adrenaline, different from a woman. When a man experiences adrenaline, that's moderate stress, different
Mhm.
direction. His emotions turn off.
Hmm.
You actually become cool, calm, and collected. That's why these people who climb mountains and whatever, they're addicted to freedom from negative emotions. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just putting endorphins in their brain. And they're basically, because they're so confident, you have to have huge amounts of confidence. They're just producing dopamine. But then when there's danger and they're still confident, then there's going to be adrenaline.
Mhm.
And when the adrenaline kicks in, he's free from negative emotions. You become free from fear. You're basically detached. You can measure adrenaline in a man's body. Blood flow stops to the emotional part of the brain.
Mhm.
Stops.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
woman, adrenaline, moderate stress, right? Adrenaline, that they live in a sea of moderate stress. Okay. Adrenaline amplifies the flow of blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. by 8 times. 8 times more emotion in a woman. That would be 8 times more anger, or if she's more inclined to feel disappointed and sad, like a victim, or
Mm-hmm.
fear, or could be feeling bad. And then those emotions give rise to judgmentalness and feeling overwhelmed and a whole bunch of things from there. But that negative emotion, the blood flow going to her emotional part of the brain goes up when she's having moderate stress. For men, it goes down. That's why when women are upset, we will always think they're overreacting.
Mm-hmm.
Because for us in that same situation, we would have less emotion.
Yeah.
See? And so a woman could actually get emotional with us, which then produces a bit of adrenaline in us, and then we detach.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's true.
We disconnect and we're thinking what she's saying here, that's the first stage. Then what happens for men, if you're in adrenaline state and now you're feeling, I'm not confident, okay, you lose your
Mm-hmm.
confidence, then adrenaline turns into cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
And when cortisol happens, there's a process of now his estrogen levels will continue to rise and his testosterone will start going down.
Hmm. Wow.
Then we become emotional when we think problems are big. Women become emotional when they think problems are little.
Hmm. Wow.
They're saying problems are big.
Yeah.
Always saying, why are you upset about that? It's no big deal. She goes, I know it's no big deal, but why you disconnect?
Why aren't you upset?
So we can't, unless we have a higher intelligence that realizes she's reacting with emotional upset. And
Mm-hmm.
we think she's saying it's a big thing when actually it's a little thing that's upsetting her. When it becomes a big thing, when a woman is in the cortisol state, when women are in cortisol, their testosterone levels are rising, 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 and their emotions are going down, down, down. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what the woman is saying. I want to leave my husband. And well, how does that feel? I feel nothing. And the
Hmm.
guy thinks when she says, I'm ready to leave, he
Yeah.
thinks, oh, we just need to work out the problem. No, she's in the chronic cortisol state where she no longer has any emotions or feelings about you.
Hmm.
She's caring. Okay. Whereas a man, when he's in that cortisol state, his emotions start to get the better of him. For her in the cortisol state, her testosterone gets the better of her. And testosterone as a virtue is detachment. Now, people don't understand how powerful, wonderful detachment is for men. When a man is detached, it means his testosterone is up and he can be empathetic without being reactive.
Yeah. It's true.
Detachment doesn't mean uh, disinterest.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't mean or uncaring. Detachment just means I'm not reacting defensively to what you're saying. I can
Mm-hmm.
actually be present, which we're trying to do is let me put my emotions to the side, my reactivity. Like, what does that mean to me? If she's saying you forgot to leave the toilet seat up, well, that's about me. So I have to be able to not react as if it's about me, but my reaction needs to be empathy, which is
Yeah.
about her. Well, tell me what happened. Did you fall in the toilet seat? Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Okay. I'll try to remember next time. All right.
Yeah.
So so that's an empathetic response, which is in responding about her, not right away going into defensiveness, which is hard for men to do because we're defenders, we're the
Yeah.
policemen, we're geared. If somebody's threatened, I gotta defend. So we need to shift that to I need to defend her against any judgmentalness that I might
Mm-hmm.
have, and to
Yeah.
know what that judgmentalness sounds like to her when we interrupt her with solutions, or
Mm-hmm.
worse, we laugh about what that's ridiculous, honey. Why would you be upset about that? Oh, this is just your stuff. This is your childhood coming back. Oh, you probably had a bad day. You don't want to
Yeah.
dismiss. See, what we're doing as men, which is what we need to do in order to get out of cortisol, is get back into the adrenaline state, which is basically minimize emotional reactions. So what
Mm-hmm.
men tend to do is, that's not such a big deal. I can do it. That's very important to do
Yeah.
if you're testosterone. But if a woman is needing to express, we don't want to minimize, we want to amplify. We give her more
Mm-hmm.
permission to be upset without it affecting us. Now, women can learn from that. If you have something critical of your partner or you want to complain to your partner, you're just knocking down his testosterone. This
Mm-hmm.
is You're killing the polarity when you complain to a man. If women could just learn not to complain, a complaint is really just a request. Okay,
It's just phrased not great.
well,
It's
it's actually it's a manipulative statement, which is when it's a complaint, it's saying unless you change, I won't be happy, as opposed to I'm not going to ask us, would you do that? Well, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, there's no emotional demand at the end.
yeah.
We know that they control us, and or some women act like they don't know. So maybe they don't know. They don't have that
Mhm.
awareness. Women, one of my friends teaches seminars, so I'll give him credit for it, Warren Farrell. He'd be a wonderful person to interview as well. He
Mhm.
wrote me The Boy Crisis, but he's written a
Mhm.
book, Why Men Are the Way They Are. Great in-depth exploration of men.
Mhm.
And in his workshops, he asks the audiences, he says, now who feels like they criticize too much? And when all the women will raise their hands, okay? And many of the men
Mhm.
don't, because they don't, okay? And
Yeah.
we don't want to be criticized, so we don't criticize. And how many people feel like they complain too much, and the women will all raise their hands? And how many people feel like they're too controlling, and the women don't raise their hand?
Hmm.
But every man will say, "What are my three complaints? She's critical, she complains, and she's too controlling." So,
Mhm.
so he has to help women understand why a man experiences feeling controlled by a woman. It's because our testosterone, our well-being will go up if she's happy. And
Yeah.
if she's unhappy, our testosterone will go down. So if she phrases her request, I'm really unhappy and I'll be even more unhappy if you don't change, what is he going to feel?
He's gonna feel like he has to quote unquote change or concede.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's called feeling controlled. So
Mm.
when women use criticism or complaints from a place of you're not making me happy, and if you do this, then you'll make me happy. Otherwise, I won't be happy. You're just controlling this man, and no woman wants to feel controlled by her husband.
Mhm.
No man wants to feel controlled by his wife. So if
Mhm.
women understand that more, they can realize these emotion-packed complaints are unproductive, but a request is productive. So here's an example of my wife being upset with me for not turning on the light for 10 years, turning off the light in the living room. I'll go through, turn it off sometimes, but
Mhm.
lots of times it'd be left on. All
Yeah.
she knows is the times I leave it on, right? And so she's walking through, all the lights on again. John hasn't turned on. I'll have to turn off the light. And in the beginning, she would ask, and then I would do my best, but
Yeah.
sometimes, right? There's the little things that actually build into the big stuff in marriages. So this is an example of what she did to solve it. First of all, it, you know, I didn't change. I just kept, maybe I changed a little, who knows? But she would, every time I leave the light on, she'd give me disapproval. You left the light on again. And I'm looking at why is she making a big deal out of this, right?
Mhm.
Just the light switch. What's the big deal? And we'd have conversations about it. She'd say, it's the electric bill. So I solved that problem. We have free energy. So if you have free energy, who cares if the lights are on? Well, there's light bulbs, evidently.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
But she one conversation, she even said, "Look, we have to be an example of energy conservation for ecology." Okay, so and what I had to do was not laugh. I said, "Well, that's true. We should have good values." Okay, so and of course, if I did laugh, it would minimize her values. So we have to be
Mhm.
careful how we respond to women. But why was she getting so upset as the years passed? Because in her mind, again, her not understanding men, in her mind, I've asked him 10 times and he still hasn't done it. It's such an easy thing for her to do it. Must be an easy thing for him to do. I've asked for 10 years and he hasn't done it perfectly.
Mhm.
That must mean if I ask for something little and he won't do it, he must not love me. What
Yeah.
if I ask for something big? See, the reality
Yeah.
is, you ask for little stuff, men forget it all the time because we're designed to think of the big stuff.
Yeah.
We get paid for the big stuff. We save lives doing the big stuff.
Yeah.
We get statues to us for the big stuff. We get promotions for the big stuff. And we make our family happy by the big stuff.
Mhm.
So the little stuff's not that important. It doesn't, there's not a lot of motivation inside of that man. But that same man who says, gee, if you won't do little stuff for me, how can I trust him to do big stuff for me? How can I
Yeah.
depend? Of course you can depend on him for the big stuff. This is little stuff. But her mind isn't wired that way.
Yeah.
See, in her mind, if doing little stuff is a way of showing love, which now we can flip that around and for men to realize the logic here. If you do lots of little things, women feel really loved.
Yeah.
You do a big thing, they feel loved. But, the principle
they notice the consistency.
That's right. The consistency is consistency. It's give her 50 roses once a year, you'll get 1 point. Give her 1 rose 50 times, you get 50 points. This is biological. See, it's a biological thing, which is, we do still need to do a few big things. You got to do like birthdays, anniversaries, special occasion. That then sort of affirms that I'm special. But then you've got to do these little things, which has the big result, which is consistency. And so many men say, I make money, I do this, I do that. How can she feel not loved by me? Because she needs a lot of little things like affection. And one of my coaches, one of my coach trainer, he was talking to me the other day, and we have over like thousands of coaches around the world that I've trained for 30 years. Only a few hundred really active ones. Now they've all gone on, they're doing other things too. They another course, but I work with them. And those coaches, what they'll do is a guy in a relationship, you say, okay, now it's the little things that make a difference. So list out to me 5 things you're going to do this week. One of the little things. And I say, okay, I'm going to write a little note on the mirror, a little sticky. I love you, honey. And then you take it away, gone. Now you're going to do another one, which is
going to empty the dishwasher without being asked.
Exactly. Nice one. Empty the dishwasher without being asked. Plan a little date, something new and different coming up in 3 or 4 days. Make sure to notice what she's wearing and compliment her. When you give her a hug, whisper in her ear on Friday, I love you so much. You're so beautiful. You see, just to write out. And see, men don't do this stuff. Even in the middle of this conversation, it's hard for me to remember those things. But if you write them out, I'm going to do that this week. Then it's a goal. Already your brain is going to anticipate getting successful doing that. That will produce the testosterone that will motivate you to do that. If you just think, I'll do little things. For me, what I do, I just have formulas, okay, that keep my testosterone up. I get 4 hugs a day. I wake up, get a hug. I say goodbye to work. Where are you? I'm going to give you a hug. I come home. I find her before the kids, give her a hug. Or bed. You're going to bed? Oh, first let me give you a hug. See, those hugs is and hugs are 8 seconds, and I don't rub my penis at her.
That's called bumping and grinding, actually.
So those are the little things. I always, when I go into the room, I stroke her hair. She said, I need to feel seen and heard. What would make you feel seen and heard? She said, well, when you come in the kitchen, just come over by me and stroke my hair. Just a little, like petting a cat. Oh, just a little pet. And she likes that. Find out little things that your partner would like, acknowledge them. And 80% of women will tell you. 20% of women don't know what they would like. You have to just realize, it might even be a higher number now. It's not, you don't have to do that because see, they're more on their male side. If my wife comes into the den, I don't need her to come over and touch me or whatever. I prefer.
But like in high school, one of the things you would do is you go to her best friend and like, hey, what is so-and-so like?
Yeah.
So maybe that's I'm just trying to think of strategies to kind of do that. With a couple minutes we got left, one of the things I wanted to kind of maybe ask about is like you've done a lot of work with Mars and Venus and a lot of great books and resources, everything from obviously communication to sex, everything. What was missing from your from the marketplace, if you will, of why you went ahead and did Beyond Mars from Venus?
Oh, okay. Can I finish the last point? It was very important how to ask. So the light switch thing. One day, many years ago, she came into the kitchen. I was making a sandwich. I still remember it because it was so like a revelation. And she smiled like something really good had happened. She said, John, I've noticed you've been turning out the light more often. I just want to remind you how good it makes me feel. Then she just said, it's no big deal, but sometimes you still forget, and walked out of the room. It's the feather touch. That's what you remember. I still remember. It's like the little, don't make a big deal out of things. So when you're ever complaining to men, always preface it is, now it's not such a big deal, or don't worry about it, but sometimes you forget. What I really want to remind you is how much I love this, or would you do this for me? It's not a big deal. Would you help me with this? It would be so nice. See, it's
and then you get to pull the big Superman S out of your chest.
That's right. That's right. Just let him feel successful and he'll do more for you. So this is, and I have to say, some audiences that didn't come to hear me speak, but I just happened to be at a conference where other people were speakers.
Mhm.
When I say those examples, some women will go, or I have to treat him like a baby. What are you talking about? Treat him like a man who deserves a lot of love.
Yeah.
It's just that, what, if we're talking about babies, let's look at what men have to do. We have to listen to you. We have to validate you. We have to give you hugs. We have to reassure you. We have to take you on dates. We have to play. We're the ones who are treating you. That's okay. Because ironically, when a man nurtures, he
Mhm.
feels more like a man. But when a
Mhm.
woman nurtures a man, she feels like a mother.
Hmm.
That's
Interesting.
nurturing hormones. So when she's nurturing you, helping you, you have to be careful not let a woman help you too much
Yeah.
because she get into this mother mold where she's now going to try to change you all the time. And many women have said to me, I can't be turned on. I feel like I'm his mother. I do everything for him. So you
Mhm.
got to be careful with getting too much from a woman. You have to always balance it by giving more of the things that are meaningful to her.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man.
Want to finish that when you had a question for me about.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, you've done so much amazing work with, Mars and Venus, what was the catalyst to coming up with Beyond Mars and Venus? Like, what was missing from the conversation, or what did you feel like that
Oh,
was still missing?
well, what came into that book? First of all, there's another book over here I wrote in 2008, and that was called Why Mars and Venus Collide. And
Mm,
when women were becoming really more like men, and men were becoming more like women, meaning
mhm.
more
Yeah,
sensitive.
reverse polarity.
Was that
Reverse polarity.
reverse polarity was going on? So that book was all about the reverse polarity. And then I continued looking because they're always attacking me. Okay, it's just like now that women don't even exist, right? So there's no difference between us at all. And so I had to come down into the biology to explain.
Yeah,
I actually look on the brain differences, but there's so many similarities in the brain that people actually wrote books against me saying there are not that many differences in the brain. All it takes is two or three differences in your brain. You're
yeah.
gonna be different. All right.
Well, all
So
it takes is 2 or 3 differences, and we're monkeys, so totally understand that.
exactly, exactly. So anyway, uh, what happened is I started studying hormones because nobody in science
Mhm.
disagrees that men and women's hormones for well-being are completely different. And all of our health issues, women have so many health issues directly linked to low estrogen or not enough progesterone and too
Mhm.
much testosterone. And men have all his health issues are all directly related to testosterone.
Yeah,
Certainly they're related to other things, but key factor is we know in science that cortisol is a major inhibitor weakening of the immune system, circulation, heart disease. All these things can come down living in a state of chronic stress.
yeah.
And when men are in chronic stress, they always have low testosterone. And when women are in chronic stress, they always have low estrogen. So it's not that just giving estrogen or testosterone is a solution. It's the mindset. It's the quality of relationship with the environment around us, you know,
Mhm.
that stimulates the genes in men that will produce testosterone and stimulates the genes in women that will stimulate estrogen. And so this is called epigenetics.
Yeah.
We have these genes, but if I don't have stimulation for testosterone, it doesn't go up. And if
Mhm.
I don't have external stimulation for estrogen for a woman, it doesn't go up to the
Mhm.
levels it needs. And it's not just the environment, although environment plays a huge role in terms of our culture we live in, the relationships that we're in, but also now we've got, these horrible pesticides, altrazine, which makes frogs and male frogs into females and,
Hmm.
really lowers males' testosterone. So, even
Wow.
20 years today, they have 20% less testosterone in males than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we have to fight that by making sure our relationships stimulate higher testosterone and higher
Yeah.
estrogen in women, which is why as a man, your testosterone doesn't have to go down as you get older. It
Yeah.
can go. And for
Yeah.
women, they will produce less estrogen when they go through menopause, but they can balance that with their testosterone by not having too much testosterone. And then
Mhm.
you're always about the balance of the male female side. And I have women clients who are
Yeah.
late 70s having multi orgasms. So
Yeah.
it's not like you have to run out of estrogen. It's the balance between testosterone and estrogen.
Yeah, I got about, 3/4 of the way through the book before I realized, "Hey, I may have to read this with a highlighter." so I can actually figure out some of these little techniques here or there. I know that in 2017, I went through a very stressful thing with one of my businesses, just executive team, embezzlement and all this kind of stuff. And my interest in sex and all of that kind of stuff was gone, gone.
No bigger
Yeah.
blow to testosterone than business failure. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I went through that, and then tried to rebuild after, things got repaired and things were working again, clicking around, all that kind of stuff. And I went to go take some blood work and blood tests and realized that my testosterone had dropped below my norm for my age group, even after that transition, and chose to go ahead and get on some supplementation that's now kind of got me back to normal. And as someone who has historically had a lot of testosterone, especially growing up, right? They tell you all the time, "Hey, your testosterone is gonna fall as you get older," and all this kind of stuff. And one of the things I picked up on really quick is that's not necessarily the case. It's kind of how you kind of live your life that controls that whole balance.
How you live your life, and a big factor of it is your sex life. Okay,
Mhm.
that's also why my testosterone's so high. Is uh, if you ejaculate too much, your testosterone will go down. Masturbation is the biggest contributing factor for these young
Mhm.
men. For masturbating all the time to porn, it's just
Mhm.
going down, down, down.
Yeah.
Uh, what happens? I mean, if you're horny, I get it. You're a horny guy. You go out and use your body and raise your testosterone in other ways. Like I
Mhm.
used to have a cold ticket as a younger guy. I was celibate as a monk for 9 years, so I
Oh,
mastered
wow.
sexual energy. Never masturbated at all, and then have a lot of sexual potency. And over the years, I learned how to not ejaculate even when you're having sex.
Hmm.
Uh, so basically, I have sex every day, and my testosterone goes higher and higher. Unless my wife's out of town or something, and then I can just meditate, my energy will go up.
Mhm.
The but the big thing that young people need to know from men is when you masturbate, your testosterone levels will come back to your baseline, but your baseline will go down, down, down. You
Hmm.
know, the internet, the biggest thing on the internet is porn. Okay,
Yeah.
it's the biggest moneymaker is porn, and
Well, it
so
is, but it also does a lot of damage to a man's brain.
yeah.
I've personally stayed away from it just because of the damage it does.
Okay, the damage it does to your brain, and then also the effect reflects on your testosterone levels. What
Yeah.
that's the same damage that you would get from cocaine. High stimulation desensitizes your dopamine receptor sites so that now to feel aroused, you need higher levels of stimulation. Now, a woman can never produce that high level of stimulation than a fake woman.
Mhm.
Fantasy, not lack of reality,
Yeah.
uh, doesn't knock your testosterone down, it knocks it up. A
Mhm.
real woman, you're feeling all this love for her and you're
Mhm.
connecting
Well,
energetically,
there's
but
another chemical that's thrown into the mix if it's monogamous, right?
that's right. That's prolactin. If
Yeah.
you're in a monogamous relationship, prolactin gets produced, which starts upregulating your dopamine receptor sites. So you don't need, matter of fact, it, it, I can't even be turned on to another woman. Okay.
Mhm.
I was thinking, I was doing a search for red light therapy, and it's yesterday. and, and it ended up, it's a red light thing called red something, but it ended up on a red light website. All right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
these people were all having sex and everything. And I looked at it, had no reaction at all. Just turned out it's kind of like,
Yeah.
because
Big X. Click.
I see a little cleavage on my wife, bang,
Yeah.
because I bonded with her. That's over time bonding by being monogamous in a relationship. And just for people to know, if you don't practice, and you can learn how to be multi-orgasmic as a man without ejaculating, then you can have sex for an hour or something. It's fantastic intercourse. It's
Mhm.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, the and it's not that pump, pump, pump the whole time. You're changing positions, and uh, the main thing I teach men is how to bring the energy up by expressing love, by expressing.
Hmm.
Uh, See, most people don't talk in sex that much,
Yeah.
but actually, if you talk, the energy goes up instead of just being in your genitals. Ejaculation
Interesting.
is just tension building down south because all this energy is activated, but it's not going through the acupuncture channels to the rest of your body. So
Mhm.
the idea is when you're starting to get close to ejaculation, what you do is make sure you're talking,
Mhm.
okay? And the woman has to be wanting to hear what you say. So here's a game we play, which is she says, "Do you love me?" And I love you so much. Tell me how much you love me. And I love you like the moon and the stars. And tell me what you do to for me because you love me so much. Oh, I
Yeah.
work so hard. See, it's a fun conversation, which is completely polarized.
Yeah. And
It's
almost playful.
and very playful, very
Yeah.
playful. Next life I'll be with you. Always I'll be with you forever. Because actually, eternal feelings, we get so connected to the soul. Our love is eternal. So you
Mhm.
always love me. I'll always love you. You're the one for me. I'm so lucky to be with you. See,
Yeah.
all these statements is bringing the energy to the heart and up to the throat center and coming out. You
Mhm.
have to be able to send the energy up. Most people aren't aware of how to make energy flow through their bodies. But
Mhm.
all you have to do is just feel your love and even change your mind. You're not having sex to ejaculate. You're having sex to feel more. And what are you feeling more? Well, you're feeling pleasure. So that allows you to feel more. Now
Mhm.
use that ability to feel your love and then communicate your love. So it's no longer just this general thing, but it's this heartfelt thing and this mind thing. And you have to discuss this in advance because you can't just
Be in the middle and break out. Hey, hey.
well, the thing is that when a man says these things, unless it lands with
Mhm.
an open vagina, so to speak, you can put your penis, but you got to have an open vagina. What opens the heart is for her to reveal vulnerability, which is, do you love me? Every woman, when she's naked, is insecure. It's just,
Mhm.
even when she's wearing clothes, she's insecure.
Yeah.
How do I look? How does this? So at that time of insecurity, express the vulnerability, which is, do you love me? Do you think I'm beautiful? Will you always be with me? Am I the number one? Am I the only
Mhm.
one for you? Absolutely, honey, you're the only one. Will you always be there for me? Now, we don't know logically if we're always going to be there. You can't know the future. A lot of guys
Yep.
say, well, really know. That's foolishness. That's not romantic love talk. This is
Mhm.
pillow talk. So so that's the dynamic of bringing the energy up. And very simply put, men, if you just let go of the idea of ending sex, is you want to go on for more and more. The
Yeah.
average five
I think the
minutes.
average man wants it to go on forever.
What's it to go on? So,
Yeah.
but ejaculation is just the end. But like you say, it damages your brain because what it is, it's a big hit of dopamine, like you took cocaine, and that then downregulates receptor sites. So now,
Mhm.
like, you kind of feel, particularly after masturbation, you just feel completely empty because you didn't even get the energy back. If a woman's feeling love, your energy is going to her appreciation of you, her enjoyment of
Mhm.
you, pleasure is energy coming back into your body, and it's
Mhm.
certain place like that. And that's the dynamic. And if you just say, it's sometimes just as simple as in 3 strokes, I'm going to ejaculate. That's
Mhm.
it. Instead, at that point, what does your body do in order to ejaculate? Is a spasm. It does. It's a
Yeah.
pelvic spasm that shakes your whole body. Okay, it's a
Mhm.
shake. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, 3 strokes before, what you do is it's coming. So rather than give her those 3 strokes, have the same body reaction, just consciously have that spasm. Because if you're about to have ejaculation, the reason men ejaculate primarily is because her body can no longer receive the energy.
Hmm.
That's the idea. When she becomes vulnerable and you're expressing love, it's her estrogen that's going up. Her
Yeah.
estrogen just can't match your testosterone that's happening at that time. So
Yeah.
her body, that's why we have foreplay. If you don't do all the foreplay, it's just to raise a woman's estrogen. But if you're
Mhm.
having sex without ejaculating, a woman hardly needs foreplay. Everything changes. She's wanting sex almost every day or every
Yeah.
hour.
Well,
Because
because she's not used to, for lack of a better word, having it last that long.
that's part of it. But
Yeah.
even and if you ejaculate, you have to realize your potency drops.
Mhm.
And that is a disconnection. Men roll over and go to sleep. I was just in Africa, saw a gorilla had sex for 3 strokes, and he went to sleep. So
We gotta be better than gorillas, guys.
we got to upgrade our making love skill. These
Yeah.
are some ideas. I certainly have a lot more on that subject, but there's wonderful books written on the subject as well. But the idea that I use is just be aware of the spasm, and now you can consciously have that same movement of the spasm, and the energy will be released. It's just too much. See, if energy is flowing and she's receiving, it's all good. At a certain point, her estrogen is not going high enough to receive the energy. It's
Yeah.
receptivity. So now the energy gets blocked. And if blocked, that's called tension. So the body has like a short circuit. It releases the tension with a spasm, which releases massive dopamine and starts making you addicted to ending sex as opposed to enjoying it going on and on and on. And then you have the problem, well, how do you stop? You just do when she's done. When she's just tell me when you're done, honey. Then you stop. And you've got this guy standing straight up. And it'll go away. Just now you say some love talk, hug, and let oxytocin settle in. Oxytocin will lower your erection. You know, they all talk about oxytocin as lowers stress. It only lowers stress in women. It doesn't lower stress in men, but it will lower it will lower your erection.
Wow.
It does.
Well, I know we're a little over on time, but I sure enjoyed the conversation. I highly recommend all of your work. I've been reading some of it for a long time. I was first introduced to it, Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus, and kind of been following ever since. So thank you so much.
You know, a lot of that sex stuff is in my book, Beyond Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. Since we got into sex, it's a wonderful.
Well, I think that's what the guys really want, and I would actually say the females probably want the same thing.
Oh,
Like I think everybody wants the same thing, but nobody's really willing to talk about it and to interconnect.
because it's hard to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's the most vulnerable part of us. And let's say I've been married for 5 years, and finally my wife says, you know, that's not my clitoris. It's actually over here. You feel like,
What?
but the book is something which you read together. It's very easy to read, very short, but it inspires a little conversation, or even, ooh, that sounds good. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of like validate. And it's easier to start talking about it. It's very important for women to be able to communicate where their spots are, what feels really good, be able to keep them there. You know, their body's very different from ours. We've got one spot. That's it.
Which is a little unfair, but hey, we'll make it work if we know what we're doing. So that's good. Where can everybody find out more about your work and kind of where to pick up the book and even some of the mini courses you have?
Well, all my books are at marsvenus.com. It'll send you to Amazon. They carry all my books. But I do have courses at marsvenus.com. 2 courses for women only. One's called Understanding Men. Another one's called How to Get Your Me Time, We Time, and You Time. Balancing the different hormones in your body through different shifts of your behavior. And then I have another one called Secrets of Great Sex, which men and women will tend to be drawn to.
Awesome. John, thank you again so much, man. Your work is amazing. And yes, we all need more information and more ways to connect with our spouses for sure.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Stephen. Real pleasure.
All right, John, take care. See ya.
I hope you liked that video. And if you did, make sure you check out this next video right here.
What I believe is that the gap between limiting beliefs and oversimplification of success is context.